Hi, I'm Rene Miller, and with the City of Atlanta Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs, we are so thrilled to introduce its new series, In the Tradition. Now, what the series is all about is we're going to introduce jazz aficionados all across the country, all around the world, to the 2021 Atlanta Jazz Festival artists. Now, beginning in early April, Jazz Appreciation Month, and it's going to run Tuesday evenings until the start of this year's Jazz Festival this fall. Now, I am so happy to be able to introduce to you a band. It's two, but it's a lot more than that. But I can tell you they are hot. Irreversible Entanglements. I've got Keir and I've got Luke. How you doing?
Doing great.
How are you?
How are you?
Good. Well, let's start at the beginning. You guys have been together since what, 2015, and you are all from New York, DC, Philly, and you're from that way, right?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So tell me a little bit about the Jazz Collective, Irreversible Entanglements. Tell me about it.
Go ahead, Kieran, with the beginnings.
Um, well, we are five. Myself, I play saxophone. Luke is the bass player. Tcheser Holmes plays the drums. Aquiles Navarro plays the trumpet. Uh, and Camae Ayewa is our poet. Um, and we formed in a real organic way. We found a real affinity uh, between playing and our focus and our our political leanings, and it's been a trip since we got together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more specifically, we started with and this is widely publicized, but we started at an event called Musicians Against Police Brutality, and it
Right.
was held at the Silent Barn in Brooklyn. And myself, Kier, and Camae, also known as Moor Mother, played a set. Immediately after us, Tcheser and Aquiles, the trumpet player and drummer, played immediately after us. Then we organized a recording session a few months later, and that's what you hear on our very first album.
Wow. So organically, you guys just kind of got together organically to do this. Am I saying that correctly?
Absolutely.
I think the feeling that we had after the three of us played, and then the duo played after us, is like, wow, we could be playing our music at the same time. And we went into the studio and we didn't no rehearsal, we just played. And like Luke said, what you hear on that first album, which is the self-titled album, is the result of our first coming together.
Wow.
It was a brief recording session at Seizure's Palace in Brooklyn, and yeah, that sort of marks that affinity that we have, that musical
Okay.
affinity. Um, yeah.
Well, I was listening to No Mas, and that's pretty. It's pretty deep. I mean, you guys get there and you go there with this particular song. So how do you come up with your creative process? What does that look like for you?
Well, we're all trained musicians in various forms. Trained in the streets. Some of us went to school and on the streets, and we find ourselves in a large national and international community of creative musicians. And when we say creative musicians, that's a direct historical link to the Association for the Advancement of Creative Musicians, founded in the South Side of Chicago in 1965, but it is also representative of an entire movement that was going on before and after that, that was happening globally. So we find ourselves in a large community of creative musicians in the tradition of people from the AACM, but also from the various movements within the Black arts movement of New York City, of Philadelphia, of Washington, D.C., of Atlanta, of Los Angeles, and every city with a sizable, significant Black population around the world experienced a Black arts movement of some sort. And we are tapping into that energy, tapping into that legacy with our focus and approach to the sound of our improvised music, of our creative improvised music. And we use that experience to hopefully push forward the music in general. There's been decades worth of development within this music, and we're finding ourselves at a time and a place where this music is being recontextualized, has been recontextualized in a lot of ways over in recent times. And now with with some of the success that we've seen, that we've experienced as a band, we find ourselves in the opportunity to push forward the music and the culture of creative musicians.
Wow. So tell me, Kier, how did you guys come up with the name Irreversible Entanglements? How did you come up with that?
Well, Camae is also, like all of us, are part of many different projects, and one of Camae's other projects is Black Quantum Futurism with her partner Rashida Phillips. And there is a text. She's a brilliant writer on Afrofuturist themes. And I just recall hearing aloud one of her texts and that phrase, irreversible entanglements. Um, and even even now, I can't remember the specific context that phrase came came in, but I I thought it was a beautiful name for this project we were embarking on, and we all felt that, So that Rashida has performed with us. There's her book,
Okay.
yeah. Um, and you know, I think in the spirit of what Luke was saying about uh, our work, is that we are a band of five people, but we extend beyond the five of us in socially and culturally and artistically. So Rashida Phillips, her her influence is certainly felt, you know, in in our band.
So
So
what's going on right now in the world? How do you feel that you have been able to contribute musically into what's going on with the racial divide, with all of that that's going on right now? How do you feel that you all contribute Luke, tell me what you think right now. What's the first thing that
The
comes off the top of your head?
first thing that comes off the top of my head, which is something that I've been thinking about this during these times, is that this is the time that we've all been waiting for as artists. This is in terms of my own development. This is the in terms of just the music. This is one of the most fertile and innovative periods of music that I've experienced personally, in my time as a musician, as an active musician. And also, we have so much material to talk about. There's a lot of things happening in the world. There's always been everything happening all at once, right? But I think now with the urgency of the message, it's a particular time right now. It's a message that we've been talking about and playing about during our entire existence. It's a message that us individually as musicians have been doing for a very long time. And so now we find ourselves in the position where now that people are looking for these messages in this music, they're looking for new sounds in just logistic terms. They're looking for something else. They're recognizing in this time of reckoning where people are recognizing that something is missing in what they've been listening to, what they've been entertained by what they even perceive as entertainment. Whereas we're looking for the spirit. We're looking to inspire and challenge and to ultimately make you leave not saying, "Oh, I had a really great time." We want you to leave saying, and I'm quoting somebody here, quoting the great William Parker, bass player in New York City. We want you to leave shouting hallelujah. We want you to leave a changed person. We don't want you to leave saying, "Oh, that was interesting," or "Oh, I that was fun." We want you to be changed on a spiritual level, and not in a God way, in a spirit way.
Gotcha. So, for people who are not familiar with you, where I know I can't sit here and begin to put you in a box. I can't say you're this type of artist or this type of genre. Where do you place yourselves?
Well, like I mentioned before, we are part of a community, a global community of creative musicians.
Okay.
And what that means, again, is that term goes back, has a very specific historical context, but also alludes to a decades long tradition of artists and musicians working collaboratively to push a community forward. It largely exists outside of the traditional music industry, but it also straddles a lot of different, as you're saying, genres and boxes. We're not in any box. In the context of this conversation, we're talking about the band Irreversible Entanglements.
Right.
But as Keir has alluded to, it is just the first step in seeing the multiple collaborations, the multiple communities that we all represent and intersect within this band. Okay. So for somebody who doesn't know what we're talking about, I suggest you just go on the internet and do some research
Okay.
because it's definitely out there.
Well, I mean, I was like blown away. I was telling Kier a little bit earlier that I really loved Nomas. I mean, I was really like feeling Nomas and just that whole vibe of the video and everything. Tell me about that process.
The the process
Just, I
of
mean, the
coming up with that
video
song
coming
was,
together and all of that, with the music and, you know, picking that. It was such a creative process. I was looking at the process.
um, yeah, I mean, it's very it's in some ways it's very simple. We had a recording session in March of 2019, and Aquiles, our trumpet player, brought in a melody and an idea, and he referred to something that he had heard Camae say over on stage live at some point, and uh, he proposed a piece in verbally in the span of a couple of minutes, right? And this is how we work. And then we recorded that idea, and that's the song. And then uh, when we uh, when we were thinking about releasing a video, um, Imani Davison is a friend of, well, she's all our friend now, but just a friend of Aquiles, I believe, maybe also Tcheser. Um, and we sent her the music. She was on location doing some other work in South Africa, and about 3 weeks later, she sent back that
Wow.
video. And we work from this real energy place, where things click when you're in the flow, when you have that energy. Um, that's what I would say about the process. I don't mean to belittle anybody's input because it's
Okay.
everything. It's
No, I
everything.
got
Um, but it's but it's also a matter of just being really present.
it.
I
Okay.
think everybody involved being really present. Luke, would you add something?
No, that's good. It's in this music we play our lives, we play our experiences, we play the moment, we play who's in the audience, we play the room, the physical space, and we play our spirits. And so the process is life. The light the way the things that we ingest, digest, and intently put into the world, that's what you're hearing in our music. That's our approach and our process in this music.
So we are so looking forward to the fall because the fall with the Atlanta Jazz Festival is in for a treat to see you guys live and to see it all come together. So what would you tell the people that are watching this video about you and about what they can experience? I mean, they're going to experience so many different, it seems like a lot of emotion is going to be in this because you seek to not just play, but you want people to go away saying hallelujah. So since they're going to do that, what can they expect at the Atlanta Jazz Festival?
They can expect some hard, furious, uh, creative, improvised music. You can hear some introspection. You can hear some sweetness. But ultimately, we hope that you get the message from not just Camae's words, but also the message from the vibrations of the sound, the vibrations of the music. That I'm not sure what else is on the festival or what else is going through the audience's playlist or music, but hopefully it's something that's familiar. Hopefully it's something that expands the taste a little bit at the same time. Hopefully it's a challenge, and hopefully it's also a relief.
That those two words in itself are great words to, I guess, describe what I felt is challenge and relief. When I was watching myself, that's what I got, challenge and relief. I was trying
Perfect.
to, and forgive me, but I was trying to just wrap my head around what I was watching and what I was listening to. and trying to put it together. And it wasn't necessarily going together for me, but I said, oh, I got to go back to this. So I have it on pause right now because I'm definitely going to go back and check it out. But we are so looking forward to having you at the Atlanta Jazz Festival. Have you been to the festival before? Is this your first time?
First time.
First time, I'm looking
Okay,
forward to it.
so what would you say, being a first timer? You all are newbies to the Atlanta Jazz Festival. It's been going on for
True.
a long time. So what would you say
We
about that feeling, getting that call saying we want you to become part of this, and with you all being as conscious as you are, and being part of the Atlanta Jazz Festival, it's a treat. It's going to be a treat for everybody.
Hmm.
we've been very gratified. We to get to a lot of big stages kind of early on for us, and it means a lot. It means a lot that the work that we're doing is reaching a bigger audience. We all have plenty of experience playing small galleries, dive bars, all of that, and we give our all in those situations, and we give our all in the bigger spaces too. And but it means a lot to be able for the work that we're doing to reach a bigger crowd. I want to say that as far as what people in Atlanta should expect from us, that in all the time that I've played with this band, uh, Camae, Luke, Aquiles, Tcheser, all give 200% all the time, never less. I've never heard a moment when anybody in this band has given any less. I can, for myself, I can say that it inspires me to give 200%. And what that feels like, because I've also been an audience member, all my
Okay.
life. And what it feels like when a band is giving 200% together um, is is irreplaceable. It and it's important. It's important not just for us to be able to do that, but for the observer to be able to take that in. That's that movement. That's that movement that's as important as the words, or as important as you know anything else we do.
Hmm.
Okay. So let me
Yeah.
ask the two of you all, when did you know that you really wanted to be in this music scene? I mean, was this something from little bitty, or is this something that you just kind of came into and just kind of organically rolled into it?
I think more so the latter for me. It's also important to me playing the Atlanta Jazz Festival as a person born and raised in the South in Mississippi, the Mississippi Gulf Coast. So reaching people with this music in particular in the South is very important to me. And especially on festivals like the Atlanta Jazz Festival, where this music isn't really featured so much, just to be completely frank. I think that it's important that this music reach as many people as possible, especially in places like Atlanta, and what I've and other people have noted as being um, as being less exposed to this music, that more so lives in your New York cities or your Chicago's, or places like that, whereas in Atlanta it's a different kind of vibe. In most places in the South it's a different kind of vibe, but it's just as important, if not more vital, to explore the entire, if since we're talking about the Atlanta Jazz Festival, it's important to explore and appreciate the entire spectrum of
Right.
jazz, of the
Right.
music, which is why I'm talking about creative music as a specific tradition within jazz that needs to be celebrated, appreciated, and known. I feel very strongly that if more people were exposed to this music, that perhaps Donald Trump might not have been elected.
Oh, wow.
Perhaps the thinking, the mindset that this music demands makes it impossible for for this sort of thing to happen. This music demands a certain sort of thinking, of thought process. You have to have trust in humanity, in yourself, in your collaborations. And it forces you to think differently about yourself and society and the roles therein. It makes you think differently about the so called music industry. It makes you think differently about the so called tradition. And again, what we've experienced in the tradition of creative music is that too often this music is excluded in school, is taught, it's not taught rather, or if
Right.
it is, it's mentioned in a negative way, which is very, very unfortunate and a disservice to students paying a lot of money.
Well,
And
I've been, I guess, a music head for a long, long time. And that's why I said I've got to go back to your music because I wanted to make sure that I could wrap my head around what I was listening to because it is
mhm,
very different from what happens in the South. And that's why I'm so excited to have you all at the Atlanta Jazz Festival because it is, exposing more people to your type of music that we can't really put a label on. So I think that is going to be the treat for everybody. If I were to say, to the jazz aficionados out there, this is different. This is a treat for you, and this is consciousness. But I want to go back to something that you said, Luke. You said that if they had heard this music, that quite possibly Donald Trump wouldn't have been elected. Now
yes.
that was a very strong statement, but I know
Hmm.
that there's a very pointed answer behind why you said that. Beside that they would just hear the music, why
Hmm.
did you go there? Tell me.
Because in creative music, in creative improvised music, in improvised music in general, okay, it offers the chance to have another way of being that has never existed before in the world. Jazz is an improvised music. The blues is an improvised music. Hip hop is an improvised music. What we do is improvised music in the context of creative music. Again, that historical tradition that goes back to a specific place, but is in existence decades before and after. So when I say that if people had heard this music, not necessarily our music, but have been exposed to this music, this tradition more so, it demands you, it demands the audience to experience a different way of perceiving humanity. It demands the audience and the musicians together to reach into their spirit and to follow a journey. And again, it's a mindset that is associated with the practitioners and aficionados of this music. And I'm speaking in general terms because this isn't all the way true, obviously, because there are some outliers that still did vote for Trump. But I think in general, if people were exposed to more radical music and not essentially what they hear on the radio, what they get from Walmart, what they get from from MTV or BET or whatever they're watching on TV, this is vital music to the spirit of humanity. This is vital music to our society and to our political paradigm. There's no doubt in my mind that if more people listened to this music, listened to improvised music, non-commercial improvised music, including the blues and jazz and et cetera, then the mindset would make it impossible for us to even consider it, for a person like Donald Trump to be even in the running. The mindset, the thought process that this music and this approach, this very unique approach, artistic approach of improvisation, where nothing that didn't happen, that where it has never happened in the world before and will never happen again. That mindset that demands that sort of practice is uniquely positioned for social change.
That makes sense. And I got it. So, in closing, we're going to wrap up here pretty soon, but who are some of the people that you guys listen to? I mean, is there anyone that you all actually listen to and say, you know what, that's it? Kier, what you got?
Well, I mean, Luke already referred to the
Yeah.
AACM and the creative musicians that came out of that scene. We're students. I mean, in the general
Okay.
sense, of the tradition. So there is as much pouring forth, let's say, from Aquiles and I, and the horns, from the late '60s free jazz counterpoint, as there is from early jazz coming out of New Orleans counterpoint. Um, I don't like to parse avant-garde and experimental with and free jazz and composed jazz. I think we're taking it all in. There isn't like a bona fide uh, hero of this music that we don't find some joy in listening to. So we take a lot more than the last 5 minutes that we have to list um, all the
Okay.
heroes. Um, I mean, I could tell you that I just listened to the new Pharoah Sanders album and I was floored, you know. Um, but I love Pharoah Sanders going back, 60 years. So I don't know, Luke, what do you want to add?
Yeah, I would say that in general, our origins have been linked to the New York Art Quartet, who also has a documentary called Breath Courses Through Us, very highly recommended. The individuals in that band all represent, again, similar to us, represent webs in the music. That would be the great Milford Graves on drums, who just passed, unfortunately. Reggie Workman on bass, who played with John Coltrane, et cetera, et cetera. Um, John Chakai, alto player, originally from Denmark, but was living in New York for a long time. And of course, Amiri Baraka being a member of it as well. And so there's a long legacy right there. Roswell Rudd on trombone, who also is representative of a specific community and lineage within the music. So with those five people right there, I'll say the New York Art Quartet and those five individuals will give you all kinds of people to check out and listen to. From Milford Graves, he has classic albums in this canon, old and new. John Chakai as well. He also is unfortunately passed away, but a very large discography that is explorable. Reggie Workman has worked with everybody from John Coltrane back in the day to Vijay Iyer recently to Andrew Cyril, who's another contemporary drummer from that period, who most famously played with Cecil Taylor, but also many others contemporarily. Uh, Roswell Rudd, played with Archie Shepp, and et cetera, et cetera. Um, and again, Amiri Baraka, the founder of the so-called Black Arts Movement, which again, I argue that the Black Arts Movement wasn't just in Harlem and in Newark. It was a global movement that was happening at the same time, the Black Arts Movement. So again, I'll just stop there. There's a lot of music out there. There's a lot of music on Spotify out there, and it's really up to us in this information age where there's infinite possibilities and infinite availability for us to do our own research. It's our responsibility to fight our own ignorance in what it is that we're trying to do.
Gotcha. Well, you know what? I can say to both of you, I feel like I just went to school. I went to school. I got a lot to think about, but I've got even more to look forward to in the fall with the Atlanta Jazz Festival and hearing you guys really put this together that we can't put a label, can't put it in a box. I think it's absolutely fantastic what you're doing. Congratulations to you and much success. And we're looking forward to the fall and hearing you at the Atlanta Jazz Festival. And that's why we're doing In the Tradition, to give you guys a chance to introduce your thought process to the audience and let them know kind of what you're about behind the scenes. Because a lot of times when people are up on stage and they're playing, they don't really know the thought process behind all of that. So I think this is absolutely wonderful. And I just want to say thank you to the City of Atlanta Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs for having this series In the Tradition so we can find out more about you guys. Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Keir, Luke, we'll see you soon, okay?
Peace, peace.
Well,
Looking
thank
forward.
you.
All
See
righty.
you at the concert.
I'll be there.
Yep.
Hey. Thanks, Rene. Thanks, Miss Miller.
You're welcome.
Thank you.